Hi, I'm Angie and I'm from BlueCotton.com. Today we're going to talk about how to make an effective t-shirt design for screen printing. Now, whether you're having us print the shirts or you're a do-it-yourselfer and you're printing it on your own equipment at home, these techniques are going to get you started on the right foot to create a great t-shirt. This is a rough draft of the design we're going to print. Now, before we go any further, let's evaluate each design element to see if it's suitable for screen printing. To begin, let's take a look at the B. This is a rasterized graphic, which means it's a file type based on pixel data. Rasterized graphics include file types such as JPEGs, GIFs, and PNGs. In this case, the B is a PNG file. Now, as we enlarge the graphic, we can see how blurry it becomes. This is an indication that the resolution is way too small to print well. Ideally, we want the graphic to be about 300 dpi at the size it's going to print. We're going to replace the low-res version with a 300 dpi version, and this is going to print really well. Now let's get it back into position, rotate it a bit. Now let's take a look at the USB graphic. This is a vector graphic, which means it's a file type based on mathematically generated paths. The advantage to this file type is no matter how large you stretch the file, it maintains great print quality. A great way to save money in screen printing, or to save time if you're doing it yourself, is by limiting the number of ink colors you use in your design. In screen printing, a different screen has to be prepared for every ink color. So if you have less inks in your design, less colors in your design, you have less screens to prepare. So if you can limit the number of colors to only those that are essential to make your design look really good, then you're going to save yourself a lot of time and a lot of money. Alright, now you can see that the USB graphic uses 3 ink colors. Got black, charcoal, and light gray. So by changing the light gray ink to the white garment of the shirt and allowing that to show through, we've eliminated the need for an additional ink color. Now let's go into Photoshop so we can take a closer look at our PNG B graphic. You can see that there are subtle gradients in the bee's yellow stripes and mouth. Gradients such as these make your artwork more complex and difficult to print. In cases where the gradients are not necessary to making the design look good, you should change all your gradients to spot color. Now we're going to begin by flattening the image, and this is going to make their image easier to work with, getting rid of the transparent areas. Next, we're going to enlarge our resolution to 300 dots per inch. Now this should always be the starting point for the graphics you use to print. Since it's a raster image, you can see how the edges become blurry and pixelated when we enlarge it. Now before making any more modifications, let's add some white space around the graphic. This is going to keep the edges of the graphic from touching the edge of the document, thereby preventing any distortion that's going to happen when we make changes. Now let's add a little Gaussian blur. This is going to smooth out the pixelation that occurred when we enlarged the graphic. Now, we only need a little bit of a blur, maybe 1 or 2 pixels. Now at this point, we're going to use a threshold function. This is going to reduce our artwork to a flat black and white image. And we can adjust the slider to achieve the black levels we want. Now this is going to give us a smooth, clean edges that will print really well. Now with the magic wand tool, we're going to select the areas of the graphic that we don't want to print. Now setting the tolerance to 0 will only select the exact color you want. I'm going to uncheck the anti-alias button to help achieve that, and check the contiguous button to only select adjacent pixels of the same color. So we're going to delete these areas that is going to have the shirt showing through. We don't want anything to print here. Now let's trim away the excess transparent areas in the design. Now we're going to use the paint bucket tool to drop our color back into the design. And again, we have our contiguous buttons checked. This is going to drop into adjacent pixels of the same color. Alright, now that we have our colors added back in, we can save the design and our bee is ready to go. Some images, like photographs, can't be reduced down to spot color. They require a technique called four-color process printing. This is essentially halftones based on cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So while we're in Photoshop, let's take a look at how this process works. Alright, now let's start by changing our color mode to CMYK. And you can get rid of the color profiles, you don't need that. Now going to our channels, you can see how each color channel looks. There's our black with our cyan. And this shows the magenta. And this shows the yellow. And with them all selected, you can see how all these four channels combine to show the photograph in its entirety. Four-color process is great for photographs and images that have lots of shading and lots of gradients in it. The downside is it's not going to create the vibrant colors that spot color printing can achieve. So it's best to use spot color printing whenever you can. Alright, now let's take a look at our font selection. You can see here we have one that's not so easy to read and really doesn't go well with our design. So let's try to find a font that's nice and bold and easy to read. And I think this italicized font's going to fit nicely. Nice and bold font, fits snugly right under the B. This is going to be a really good font to use for this design. We created our design to print in the center of the shirt. Now if you want to print your design off-center in an unusual location, that's fine. But it's best to steer clear from seams and creases in the shirt. It's going to be really difficult to print in those locations. So save yourself a lot of time and trouble by printing on the flat part of the shirt. Thanks for watching the video and good luck with all your designing.